iRockRadio, the world headquarters of rock. It is Mike Caroli in Ridgefield, Connecticut today at the Ridgefield Playhouse with our special guest, Candlebox. Thanks for hanging with us.
Our pleasure, man.
Thanks for having us. Good to see you again, man. First off, I just want to thank you for all the things you did with WCCC over the years. That's where we come from. And man, we did so many cool things. Acoustic shows at the Webster Theater in Hartford. I mean, the New Haven Coliseum. I mean, we go way back. So just thank you for all those times in the past. And we're happy to be a part of Candlebox going forward, too.
Dude, that's our pleasure, man. I mean, you guys were always so gracious to us and really gave us a long career there in Connecticut. I'm sad to know that it's gone, so it's bumming me out. Right? Crazy.
You know, a station that had been around for 40 years as a rock station, and then one day just flips formats and it's over. You know, it's weird. But we could not be stopped. That's why we started iRockRadio. So
I like it.
Here we are today. But thank you.
Our pleasure.
So tell us about the new album. Disappearing in Airports. That's a cool title, for one. And two, it's coming out April 22nd.
Yeah.
Tell us about the album and how it came together compared to maybe past albums. Was it effortless? Was it what was the vibe putting this record together?
Well, the title comes from the painting that's on the front. It was painted by a guy by the name of Scott Rivers Fisher, a friend of mine. It was actually started working on an album cover for us, and then unfortunately had a massive heart attack and died. A week into the process. So his sister contacted us and said, listen, we have this painting that we think really, it was his favorite painting. He's never shown it, and we'd like to have you guys use it for the album cover, because I said I would love to honor him some sort of way. So that's how we got the album cover and the title. I think the record was pretty effortless. We went in with a few ideas. We had 5 or 6 things that were structured, but we really kind of wanted to feel the pressure of having to develop something right on the spot, and that's what we did. 12 songs in 4 days, 2 days to do guitar overdubs, and 8 days to do vocals. So not effortless, but definitely it feels hungry, the record. It's got an attitude to it, and it sounds like we really kind of want it, I suppose.
Yeah, and Kevin and I were talking about the spontaneity of it, where we went in and it was a guerrilla recording situation, but with all the guys in there, it's all, you spend all the time learning your respective instrument and whatnot, and then you just got to kind of forget it all, right, and then just rely on your instinct to make the song the best it can be. And all the performances on the record are fantastic. I'm just so excited about it because everybody just really stepped up and tapped into that instinct, and it was just so organic. And getting it done, especially in that amount of time, was crazy. Certainly a new experience for me. I had never made a record that way, that quickly.
It's almost like record time, especially these days. It seems like there's, the band is separated around the world and everybody submits their parts and it takes time to put it all together, but that's amazing. And the reason I asked about, how the album came together and the energy of the band and everything is because the single we're playing, Vexatious, just has this life to it that is just big. When we play it on iRockRadio, it really jumps out. I mean, that song really jumps out at you, but that one really does. And I was wondering if that spoke on behalf of the album and kind of was indicative of the rest of the songs as well.
Definitely. And it's funny because that song was written on acoustic, but we can't play it on acoustics. Yeah, it definitely, the album feels like that. I mean, we played you guys the song Alive at Last acoustically, which I screwed up. I can say fucked up because this is internet.
Yes, you can.
But it's because it's so new, and but the record feels like that. Even though there are these ins and outs, it's a record I think that people are, some of our core fans are not going to be liking it, which is fine. But I don't make records for to keep an audience. I make a record to gain a new audience, and that's kind of what we've always done. Every time Candlebox has made a record, it's always been about reaching another audience. And anytime I think we felt as though we were falling back on those laurels, we pushed ourselves even further. With this record, I think having new blood, Brian Quinn, obviously, who's here speaking with us now, being from Foster Child and Octane and a very long career as a guitar player, bringing his energy in, and Mike Leslie from Detroit, this young kid who can't barely tie his shoes but can play guitar like nobody's business. Bringing this energy in, and then having Dave and Adam, my solid foundation of rhythm that I've had for the past few years. it sparked everybody, and I think that's why the record jumps the way it does. And I listen to it every day, and I've never done that with a Candlebox record. There's not one song that I skip. There's not one song I don't like, and sometimes, there's a saying that if an artist appreciates his own work, it's his worst work ever. I hope that's not the case with this. But yeah, I mean, I love the album, and I loved working with these guys, and they pushed me to push myself further as a lyricist and as a singer.
Jumping away from Candlebox just for a second, because you just made me think of this as you said, you listen to the album every day. Name an album that changed your life. An album that you heard, not just the song, but the album changed your life.
For me, it was probably Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have that one. That was one that really, that sticks out for sure. And music from Big Pink by the band as well. Two pretty different records, but as far as complex musicality and just getting massive performances on record, which is, that being able to get a sense of urgency performance onto tape isn't, you could do it live, but getting it onto tape, and just those two records just really blew me away, and the songwriting was just outstanding on both.
Yeah. For me, it was the Monterey Pop and Jazz Festival, the Otis Redding series. Just absolutely floored me. I was like, God, how can a singer deliver so much, and especially in the, whatever this, was that the 69, I think was that one, wasn't it? With such limited equipment, to just kill that performance. And then I would say the second record probably was the Clash London Calling. I grew up on punk rock, and I love punk rock, and that record made me understand that it's very important as a young person to question authority and to challenge. And that record, the stories behind every one of the songs, and now obviously being a songwriter, I go back to that a lot when I'm writing. What would I like to say here that makes somebody think?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting when you mentioned just something just there about the performance with limited equipment and how do they do that. As I was watching you guys do that song a few minutes ago with just the acoustic guitars and the microphones, I really honed in on your voice, and the way you use your voice brings out a lot of emotion. No. Well, I had to plug my ears for a while. No.
Thank you.
But the way you use your voice, I mean, obviously you can belt it out and you can hit those high notes, but you also have those subtle moments that to me make a song. It's one thing to write the words. It's another thing to really sing them and perform them, and that's what you do. How long did it take to learn the craft of using your voice?
Well, dynamic is important in any art form, and I think I probably learned it most in choir. I was in choir from like second grade to my senior year, just because I needed an elective, and there were a lot of girls in those classes, and I figured that was probably the best way for me to get a date at some point. Be friends with them first, and then you can go out with them. But choir really allowed me to understand singing complex Italian pieces, singing complex French pieces, singing great classical songs and gospel songs and barbershop quartet. That's kind of where I started to understand what the voice was capable of. I was a drummer, so I never wanted to be a singer in a rock band. I always wanted to be the guy behind the kit. So I'm still kind of the reluctant lead singer. But the thing that I like to do with music that I sing, and whether it's Candlebox or Pearl Jam or anybody else that I'm singing, is I want my own emotion in it, and I need to find my own attachment, and that's kind of why with a song like Alive at Last or Lover Come Back to Me, which we play a lot of these tonight, I'll go in and out of the dynamic of the song, because sometimes the story needs to be told a little bit softer, and it needs to be expressed a little bit differently. And that also allows it to keep it fresh for me as a singer. Singing Far Behind for 25 years, I need to make it mine every night, because I don't want it just to be phoned in. And I think that's what it was Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. he quit because he's like, I was phoning it in, and I don't want to do that, and I never want to do that as a performer, and that's why I do modify the songs at night. I've had people, post stuff on social media, why'd you change the song? Well, you can hear it, the regular version on the record if you have the record. If you don't, it's on the internet, so go steal it. But it's about the performance of the song and where my head's at that moment. We do "Miss You," which I wrote about my father, and there are some nights when I can barely get through that song because I'm that attached to it. And then there's other nights where I can actually make it through without feeling any type of emotion about my father. I'm attached to the emotion of the people in the audience. So it's important that you find that in your voice.
Is that the greatest challenge at this point after doing this for so long and singing? I mean, you have to sing certain songs every night, I would imagine. Is that the greatest challenge, finding that motivation to keep it fresh, to keep it new for yourself?
No, it's not challenging.
No,
at all. I'm a highly emotional person. I'm a type A personality that's a total hopeless romantic. So I can tap into it very easily because it's mine, and I know what I was singing about. I guess if I had not been attached to those lyrics when I wrote them, it wouldn't be that easy. But I've been so attached to them for so long that I just find it in some point in the song. And I tell the stories about the songs every night, which that definitely helps. It takes me back to where I was. And I think it takes the guys that jam with me, it takes them into another world as well. Because then they start to kind of understand where I'm coming from at that moment. And he plays differently every night when I go in and out of these kinds of lyrical and vocal changes to a song. And I love that because it means that he's in tune with me.
Take us back to the new album, Disappearing in Airports, coming out April 22nd. The song you did for us earlier, tell us the name of it again and give us the brief story behind it.
Alive at Last is the name of the song. I have 3 friends that have terminal cancer, and you get on the phone and what do you say? They know, and everyone around them knows that it's limited time. And it's really hard to say something that is uplifting when they know that it's not. So I figured the best way for me to do it is write a song, and that's what I did. And I wanted to kind of tell the story of, it must be a very great moment for them to let go of the pain when they finally leave, and there's no more suffering. That's really when they become alive. And if you believe in an afterworld and those types of things, I think that's exactly what it's about. So that's why I called it Alive at Last.
I have to be honest, when I was listening to it, I actually had to distract myself for a little bit. I'm a cancer survivor.
Oh, congratulations, man.
So it hit me as I'm listening to these lyrics. I'm like, okay, let me look at my phone for a minute here because I really had to check out.
You got to take deep breaths.
I really had to. So on behalf of anybody battling cancer and cancer survivors, thank you for writing the song.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Beautiful
Congratulations.
song. Thank you. Thank you. I'm 8 years out, so I'm good.
Motherfucker of a disease, man, I'll tell you.
It's brutal. But thank you for writing the song, and thank you for all the songs over the years and all the partnerships, everything we've done, as I said in the beginning. Candlebox and CCC, and now Candlebox and iRockRadio, heading off into the future together. So thank you for everything.
Right on, man. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you as well. You as well. And that's it from the Ridgefield Playhouse. Mike Crowley with iRockRadio.